Welcome to Opinions in 10, online posts and biblical opinions in under 10 minutes. Starting now. Today's post comes from Altruistic Band 5680. My younger brother and I are becoming distant, and it's scaring me. I'm still in high school, and my brother is 5 years younger than me. We were pretty close when we were small, but we had nothing really going on as such in our lives, and there was no discussion of what we did in our day, who our friends were. We were just little kids. But now he is going to enter his teenage years, and I can see him being influenced negatively by people in school, by social media, and he is keeping more and more secrets. Problem is that a few years back, I started valuing our time together less, prioritizing our studies and stuff more over us just hanging out and doing things together like a normal brother and sister would. I realized that naturally he grew tired of trying to get me to play with him, and now he actively hates my company. I know this is my fault, and I should have known better. But I'm so scared. I don't want him to become a terrible person because there was no one to tell him to be better. He says racist, sexist, and homophobic stuff, which I don't even know where to start correcting him from. Basically, I have no idea how I can be in his life more so that he'd have a trusted person to share his experiences with and not do misguided things which would lead him into trouble. I'm so scared that I will be left just watching him turn worse and worse. Please advise me on what I should do now, how I should rebuild the trust between us, and how I can get him to realize that he is too young to know what's right and wrong. Well, your post seems to indicate that you are a female in high school, which would likely make you between 16 and 18 years old. Your brother, then, would be between 11 and 13 years old. What is difficult to understand, especially in this day and age, is that men and women are different. It's actually not too hard to understand if you can get away from all the people insisting otherwise. When a boy becomes the age that your brother has to be, he starts the shift into becoming a man. Part of this shift, as you're discovering, is a certain amount of separation in order to learn how to stand on his own and how to lead a home and a family. If your family has been generally healthy and happy, then this separation will likely not be permanent. Things that help tie a family together, regardless of whether or not somebody leaves for a while, are a shared culture, traditions, rituals, essentially things that a family does. What is the identity of your family? These things, and the bonds that are formed around these things, are going to be what holds it together. But I do want to ask the pertinent question of what negative means. Obviously, you think he's being influenced negatively, or he's misguided, and you fear him becoming a terrible person. Well, those things make a certain implication that you have a moral standard which you accept to be unalterable truth, and that anyone who falls outside of those things is a terrible person. But that assertion in itself leads to another question, namely, what is this moral code that you've adopted as the truth? It's a question that I would guess you don't have an answer to. The reason that you don't have an answer to it is the simple fact that the moral code that you were subscribing to is so abstract and arbitrary as to not be definable in any way. In fact, the only clues that you have given us as to the identity of this moral code are the string of left-wing buzzwords you gave to identify his behavior as being negative and misguided, i.e., racist, sexist, and homophobic. Words that may have once had definitions, but have been used interchangeably to describe everything that the woke crowd doesn't like for so long that they have lost all discernible meaning. You said that you were in high school, and that is where this idea of right and wrong is being pushed the hardest. They try very hard to indoctrinate the youth into thinking what they are told before they enter adulthood. And the fact that you are using the same string of buzzwords that everyone else does whenever someone questions these things leads me to believe that you've bought into it. Unfortunately, the majority of this teaching rests on what's called an unfalsifiable thesis. This simply means that you're given a statement and that any option for question or disagreement has been curtailed. If you question or disagree with what you've been told, you are simply called racist, sexist, and homophobic, and then dismissed without consideration. If these ideas really stand up to scrutiny, then there would be no reason to squash dissent. I would recommend taking an honest look at both sides of this and evaluating what is said on each side honestly. Paul, Silvanus, and Timotheus wrote a letter called 1 Thessalonians, and in chapter 5, verse 21, there is an instruction given that may help you here. It reads, "Test all things. Hold fast to that which is good." Setting out into the world, I can't think of any more important thing than knowing what is true, but you have to test it. Look at all of the evidence objectively. Test the anti-biblical rhetoric being pushed everywhere you go now to the moral principles of Scripture. This podcast is in part intended to teach the practicality of biblical morality. You are welcome to listen to as many of these as you would like, but test what is being pushed on you as moral truth right now. Anyone who doesn't allow you to disagree or question would seem to not be confident in their own beliefs. Test all things. For your own sake, test all things. And that'll do it for today. If you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. God bless.